This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
And welcome to the latest edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churko, alongside, as usual, not my brother and nobody this week, as I am guestless and co-hostless once again. Big Dom Churko, he's just too darn busy for this podcast at this point with work and everything else that life throws at him. So, no excuse for him to miss this podcast, but I'm also not going to throw him under the bus. So, anyways, remember, he still gets his name first due in the show title, so he does have that going for himself currently as well. Anyways, a lot of talk about Major League Baseball has been going on recently, and not on a positive note, though, but Major League Baseball is definitely being brought up in circles with people that usually would not be talking about baseball, even with spring training having started, with the pitchers and catchers having reported for the Tigers and throughout Major League Baseball. So you see Major League Baseball being spoken about negatively, and largely because of the sign-stealing scandal that has rocked the nation and the sport. And from organization to organization, you have players responding to the 2017 sign-stealing scandal when this developed, supposedly, and helped the Astros win a World Series championship in that season against the LA Dodgers. Cody Bellinger and others have recently spoken out because of it in criticism of the Astros and how the Astros benefited from that, won a World Series because of that. And it was a great fall classic that went to 7 games. And the Astros had a great ball club. Remember, had to beat the Yankees in 7 games, which famously was won by the Astros via a game-winning walk-off home run hit by Jose Altuve. And he's really at the forefront / center of this sign-stealing scandal because of that incident when he hit the game-winning home run to win Game 7, to win the ALCS against Aroldis Chapman and the Yankees, as it was Aroldis Chapman that he hit that game-winning home run off of. And remember, when he was rounding the base paths, he decided to, not take off his jersey, and the players were going to strip him of his jersey and take it off of him once he hit home plate in celebration of the walk-off bomb that he hit. But Altuve, you can see glaringly as he was rounding third and going to home, was telling his teammates not to take the jersey off of him. And a lot of speculation since has insinuated, saying that Altuve had a wire. He was wired up and was being told the signs from the Astros dugout or clubhouse. And this all has come out and been talked about heavily now, and not just with the start of spring training, but ever since MLB's findings came out and suspensions and punishments were handed down by Major League Baseball in the commissioner's office, led by MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. And remember, for a lot of fans and pundits alike and these players now who have voiced their opinions on the scandal, the suspensions handed down and these bans that were handed down for A.J. Hinch, a one-year ban, for General Manager Jeffrey Lunau, the GM of the Astros back in 2017. A.J. Hinch served as the skipper of the Astros back then when they won it all. Well, for a lot of people, Rob Manfred did not do enough with those one-year bans of those two individuals. That, you can say, we're at the forefront of the sign-stealing scandal from behind the scenes. Altuve, back to the player who has largely been spoken about, and because of that walk-off home run once again that he hit. Now, supposedly he was wired, and it allowed him to get the sign that helped him know the pitch that was coming when he hit that walk-off bomb off of Aroldis Chapman. So the Astros benefited largely. Altuve specifically did in that situation, and the Astros then went on to the Fall Classic and benefited from sign stealing as well and beat the Dodgers in 7 games. It was a really good Fall Classic, but there's nothing the Astros can say at this point that can diminish what the Astros did. Cheating at another level using high-end technology. They had the technological upper hand throughout all of this. And it was a technological advantage that the Astros should have never had through this sign stealing, which it does happen. It has for years and years, for as long as baseball's been around, for the opposition to get the upper hand. There has been sign stealing conducted, but has not involved the usage of technology. Once again, this advantage for the Astros was not seen before, or at the very least, was not reported about before. Nothing ever came out to this magnitude of sign stealing. And then, once again, you look at Cody Bellinger, the Dodgers superstar ball player, calling out Altuve in the Astros. And the integrity of Altuve in the Astros subsequently is under fire. The integrity of Major League Baseball is under fire. The integrity of baseball's commissioner, Rob Manfred, is under fire for not delivering a stiff enough penalty for the Houston Astros. And the players that were involved and conducted this sign stealing, such as Jose Altuve. And Altuve's teammate, Carlos Correa, recently has become the spokesperson for the organization and has stood up for his teammates and has tried to defend them and say that as much as there was sign stealing, and they admit that fact, and it did go on, it didn't go on during the 2017 Fall Classic. Didn't benefit the Astros to the extent where the Astros then beat the Dodgers. It didn't matter at that point. The Astros didn't benefit from the sign stealing. It didn't play a role in the Astros winning that Fall Classic, as there's a multitude of signs, he explained to Ken Rosenthal of MLB Network and Fox Sports and FoxSports.com, that there's a multitude of signs given out by pitchers and catchers that players will try to pick up on, but it's too darn hard to do so because there is a multitude of signs that are exchanged between battery mates. And it makes it nearly impossible then for the opposition to pick up on it and to get that upper hand and that big-time advantage over the other team. So Correa spoke about all of this in detail, breaking down the World Series game by game in 2017 with Ken Rosenthal recently. It's gone viral, and a lot of people have spoke out in opposition to it. Correa, once again, made these comments to and directed them at Cody Bellinger, because he heard about Bellinger. Bellinger, with his a big name, came out, spoke about the Astros and the sign stealing and naysaying all of it because he felt it wasn't right and it cost the Dodgers a World Series. So he has all the right in the world to feel like his Dodgers and the teammates of his were slighted and lost out on a World Series because of the sign-stealing advantage that the Astros garnered and had specifically in that Fall Classic in 2017. So Correa ultimately took it upon himself to be the spokesperson, in so many words, of the Houston Astros and spoke in opposition to what Bellinger had to say. And in doing so, it exemplified once again how the Astros, through all of this, with their owner Jim Crane included as well, have been tone deaf. Crane came out and, I don't know when it was, said that it didn't give the Astros an advantage. Well, come on, man. I mean, give me a break here. When players, and you should know this, even though, Correa was defending his owner too and saying that Crane, well, he doesn't play the game of baseball, doesn't know how complicated it is and how by stealing signs you can get that upper hand as a ball player, specifically as a hitter, when you're at the plate, and then you know the pitch and you can hit it because you know the pitch is coming. He said Jim Crane doesn't know that, even though he's the owner of a Major League Baseball organization. And I don't care if you played or not. You can have no prior playing experience and know that as an outsider looking in on the situation. So those comments stemming from Jim Crane from I don't know when, but a while back now, were tone deaf to start off. He should have never came out and said that because it was utterly ridiculous. And it showcased how the Astros have been tone deaf throughout all of this. And then Carlos Correa comes out and defends his teammates. He subsequently has looked tone deaf. All of these guys are looking tone deaf. And yes, Major League Baseball should have done something more and should have come down with a harsher, much harsher, and stiffer punishment. But guess what, guys? The Astros were never going to be stripped of their World Series title. They just weren't. It's never happened in Major League Baseball. I can't remember a sport where it has happened, where the champion has been stripped of a world championship. And sure, it's happened in collegiate athletics, but that is different. The players aren't being paid. So in pro sports, you're going to have the problem on your hands where these players now are maybe going to sue the sport that has taken the championship away from them because the players have more rights in pro sports. And whether that's right or wrong, I think it's wrong because I think collegiate athletes should have more rights and should be paid because they do so much, make so much money for their universities ultimately that they should be paid. Well, it's just point blank though. Because the players aren't compensated, well, they don't have as big of a say. They're not going to be the ones with the aptitude or the capability, let's say, of filing a lawsuit against the NCAA subsequently, even though I know Ed O'Bannon took the NCAA to court way back, help maybe give these players some more, and student athletes all around for all these different collegiate sports, more rights and opportunities. But still, at the end of the day, there is no comparison between pro sports and a league like Major League Baseball and then the NCAA. There is no comparison because athletes, once again, at the collegiate level are not paid. So yes, the NCAA can and will continue to strip teams of NCAA titles because they can. They have the power, have so much power, and can exert it. And thus, like I said, they have too much power over the athletes. In Major League Baseball and other professional sports leagues, well, the players have a lot of power, guys, because they are paid and paid millions of dollars. The exorbitant contracts that they don't truly deserve at the end of the day, not to the extent that they end up being in excess of, I don't know, exorbitant amounts where players are making, north of 20 mil, 25 mil, making as much as 30 mil a year. Sure, those deals are exorbitant. But still, they're paid. And because they have more rights. And they're going to voice their opinions. And because of that, the Astros, at the end of the day, were so erroneous. We're so much in the wrong. But because it's never happened before to guys, the precedent has never been set before by Major League Baseball, by other pro sports leagues. Major League Baseball and the commissioner's office led by Rob Manfred specifically was never going to strip the Astros of their 2017 World Series crown. So Sure, it wasn't a stiff enough punishment handed down by Major League Baseball, and we're still awaiting what's going to happen to Alex Cora, who was dismissed as a skipper of the Red Sox, and that was a move made by the Boston Red Sox franchise. So the Red Sox did the right thing there. But there is more that will be handed down to Alex Cora, who, along with Carlos Beltran, it seems like now are at the forefront of this sign-stealing scandal, where the guys that really spearheaded the movement for the Astros when it started back in 2017. Beltran as a player, Cora as a bench coach before he took over as Red Sox manager in 2018. And I know he carried over something from that sign-stealing scandal that he learned and implemented with the Astros in 2017 to the Red Sox when he took over as their manager in 2018. In a season in which him and the Red Sox ultimately won a World Series title. So Cora went from 2017 to 2018 winning World Series championships. First as a bench coach of the Astros, then in 2018 as the manager of the Red Sox. So there should be a hugely stiff punishment handed down to him, and I could be convinced very easily by an astute argument that he should be banned for life. And maybe he appeals it one day through the players union, or, when he has to file his appeal, and does. And maybe it gets lessened and it's no longer a permanent ban for Major League Baseball. But I think there's a very solid argument, guys, that can be made at the end of the day that Alex Cora should receive not just a one-year ban as it was handed down to A.J. Hinch and Jeffrey Lunau, but for Cora to receive a lifetime ban from the game of baseball. Now, with all of that being said, I have to give some credence to a point made by Yu Darvish regarding the Astros sign-stealing scandal. He commented earlier Sunday and stated the following. He said, open quotes here, Olympics, when players cheat, they can't have a gold medal, right? But the Astros still have a World Series title. That makes me feel weird. End of quote. So sure, in the Olympics too, you can be stripped of a gold medal, silver, bronze, you name it. So if you are caught for doping, caught for cheating, you're done. You no longer hold the right to that championship. It goes to somebody else. Well, that's the Olympics. It's not Major League Baseball, where once again the precedent has never been established by the commissioner's office in Major League Baseball. And maybe there should be new protocol. And once again, there should have been a stiffer punishment, but it wasn't going to be the stripping of a World Series championship. Now, something that I don't know who it came from, but it's not my original idea that I really liked hearing about, is that maybe the Astros could have received a postseason ban, at least for the upcoming 2020 campaign. That would have been fitting to me and much more reasonable. So I would have signed on for that. That's something Commissioner Manfred could. And looking at it now and thinking about it, having had the chance to think about it throughout the day on Sunday and really throughout the course of this weekend as well, guys, I feel like this was an opportunity that Rob Manfred missed out on. The opportunity to ban the Astros for a year from the postseason. So no postseason eligibility. Could have been something handed down by Manfred. He didn't. And now is hearing all of these naysayers coming out. He's receiving all of this opposition. And I don't think his job is on the line, but his reputation has been tarnished forever as commissioner of the game of baseball. So sure, Yu Darvish, that's an astute point. There's no denying the fact that that is a very astute point. But once again, back to my point about the NCAA and the rights there held by the athletes. That's the biggest thing, I think, with the NCAA and why they can strip these teams of championships. So there's a reason why they do, and there is merit to it. Definitely, there is merit to it. And if Major League Baseball were to come out tomorrow and say that there is a lifetime ban for some of these guys, even A.J. Hinch and Jeffrey Lunau and Alex Cora. And if they came out and said the Astros would be stripped of their 2017 World Series title, there definitely would be some merit attached to it, reason for it. It's not going to happen. It's a near impossibility. The Astros weren't already stripped of their championship and aren't at this point. Now, you know what? Once again, it could have been a stiffer punishment handed down by Rob Manfred, and maybe there are some things he should not have said up to this point. He spoke out earlier this weekend and said there will be consequences for retaliation. That if there's players from other teams that throw out batters now, throw at Altuve, throw at Correa, throw at Alex Bregman and other Astros hitters, they will face repercussions and be punished by Major League Baseball. Well, when you hear all of that and think about these players on the Astros and how they weren't punished one bit, and because they were delivered immunity, because they were immune to facing punishment from Major League Baseball based on Rob Manfred's decision. Rob Manfred gave them that, and because of that, because of them being immune to any kind of punishment handing down, well, they have gone unscathed throughout all of this. They are also eligible to play this season, weren't even suspended for a game. Not even a game. None of them were suspended even a game by Major League Baseball because of immunity. And maybe Rob Manfred should not have done that. It does sound stupid now. And maybe that's another example of where Rob Manfred was in the wrong and did not handle the situation correctly. He did, though, get the players to speak up and openly speak about what happened inside of that Astros locker room in 2017 and after that as well. So he got all of the facts through his investigation. From my knowledge, went through all the channels, investigated everybody that he should have from the Astros, and came down with this conclusion. Once again, wasn't the stiffest punishment. Now, it was severe. I think it was what happened to Hinch and Luhnow. But was it the proper punishment still at the end of the day? No. And that's why I think there can be this said, what I'm going to say right now, that the punishment was severe for certain individuals. But was it the proper punishment? No, it was not from Rob Manfred. And looking back at all of it now, and from the idea of making the Astros postseason ineligible for 2020, there is definitely some merit to that. A discussion that could be had about that with the Houston Astros going into this upcoming season. But once again, to reel all of it in and to wrap it up for my diatribe on Major League Baseball, the sign-stealing scandal that has rocked Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros, Jim Crane, those comments that I brought up, Carlos Correa, and the rest of these Astros being outspoken about their ways back during 2017 and what ensued, what transpired, and going on these tangents about how, they still deserve that World Series championship they won in 2017. Well, Carlos and everybody else there, it's also about what happened leading up to those events in the Fall Classic. Jose Altuve being wired up, not wanting his jersey stripped from him by his teammates when he went to home plate after that game-winning walk-off home run he hit in Game 7 of the 2017 ALCS off of Yankees closer, Aroldis Chapman. All of that added up. We know you did something leading up to the Fall Classic, and you still might have done stuff when it came to the sign stealing and the hitting of the trash can to know what signs were coming in that 2017 Fall Classic. So still, you're in the wrong. You're at fault. What transpired was erroneous. It's a black image on all of your faces for the rest of your careers. And your reputations, fellas, will never be the same subsequently either. And the same thing can be said, and I will say it right now, is true, truly applicable for Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred. He is now in the same class as Gary Bettman and Roger Goodell for always being dogged and looked at as, or in a negative light, and as a commissioner that's in over his head, that hasn't always done the right thing when the time has called for it. And because of that, all of those three commissioners' reputations have been damaged, and damaged forever. The only commissioner I see in pro sports nowadays whose image is still relatively sterling is Adam Silver. No pun intended, for the commissioner of the National Basketball Association. He's the only guy at this point, everyone out there listening to this week's edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito, that I feel still has a very highly reputable name and is looked at in a positive light. As for Bettman, Goodell, and Manfred, once again, that will never be said for them, presently or moving forward. And guys, that was my diatribe on the Houston Astros there and the sign stealing scandal for the Astros and throughout Major League Baseball. It's truly affected all of the organizations, and all of these clubs are going to continue to speak out when they hear of more stupid, asinine, and tone-deaf comments like the ones made by, as I already brought up, Carlos Correa to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, also an MLB insider for Fox Sports. And tone-deaf comments that I brought up, and one that I forgot to, but I want to, because I'd be remiss without mentioning it right now. But Correa regarding Altuve and rounding third, not wanting his teammates to take off his jersey. Well, the two reasons for it, and the one he brought up with Ken Rosenthal that's receiving a lot of attention on Twitter and has gone viral, is the one in which he mentions that Altuve had an unfinished tattoo on his collarbone. And it honestly looked terrible. And it was a bad tattoo, and he didn't want anybody to see it. He didn't want to show it off at all. Another one of the outlandish comments in which the Astros have showcased just tone deafness and a reason for them to continue to be lambasted and hated moving forward, as they have truly shown their asses. Guys, was that enough? I hope it was for all of you out there regarding the sign-stealing scandal with Major League Baseball. So anyways, moving on from that now to the last topic for this week's edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. Looking at something that affects Detroit sports fans, and it is the NFL draft for the Detroit Lions. So this deals with the people listening to this podcast that live a little bit closer to me, specifically in the fine state of Michigan, and for those that are fans of the Detroit Lions. As I penned a piece on Sunday for SI Lions Maven about the three options that have been recently talked about ad nauseum for the Lions with their number 3 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. And we've heard a ton about Jeff Okudah, the Ohio State defensive back, being a guy that the Lions take there if they do keep that pick. Now, there's also been speculation about the Lions keeping the pick and taking Tua, or trading down and to a team, or with the team that wants to take Tua at number 3. So those three things have been talked about ad nauseum recently for the Lions when it comes to what they will do with the number 3 overall selection in this April's NFL draft. So read my piece for more in-depth insight out of me regarding those trade options for the Lions and scenarios for the Lions with the number 3 overall pick. Trade options that also include Matthew Stafford being dealt. Now, there was a talk about the Chargers. That could be a prime destination for him. The now Las Vegas Raiders could be a prime destination for him. Even the Miami Dolphins, who look to get younger at the position more than taking on a veteran QB who's played 11 years in the league, all 11 with the Lions, in Matthew Stafford, who might be nearing the end of his time in the NFL with all of the nagging issues physically that he has dealt with in recent memory. So who knows how good Stafford will be moving forward. But I see the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders as being two prime destinations for his services if he were to be dealt by the Lions leading up to the draft or on the first night of the NFL draft. As I could see that being the case, where the Lions hold on to Stafford until the first round of this year's NFL draft because they want to first take Tua, get him with a number 3 overall pick, and then trade Stafford. Or there's also this scenario that I'll throw at all of you guys. And it's a scenario that I think has become more and more popular because of the Chiefs' success this past season in winning a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes. Remember, Patrick Mahomes in his second year as the starter for the Chiefs. Now, he's played 3 years in the league, but sat behind veteran Alex Smith in his first year in the league. And it benefited Mahomes. He learned a lot, soaking up info and lessons from the veteran Alex Smith. Mahomes then had the monstrous second year and his first year as a starter for the Chiefs, winning the MVP while throwing 50 touchdown passes along the way. It was a monstrous campaign out of Mahomes. And then he followed that up with a Super Bowl championship in his third season in the league and only second season under center. So it worked out for the Chiefs using that methodology of drafting Mahomes, but still keeping Smith for Mahomes' first year in the league and allowing Smith to still be the starter for Mahomes' first year in the NFL. The Lions could also follow that and end up still with Matthew Stafford as their starter in Tua's first year in the league, allow Tua to learn under Matthew Stafford as Stafford's backup, and then you trade Stafford next offseason and allow Tua to take over as a full-time Lions starting quarterback. So there is that blueprint that has led to success and ultimately to the Chiefs winning it all, that the Lions very well could take a page from. And I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for the Lions at this point after seeing what the Chiefs have done. And now there's no say Mahomes is going to be, or, Tua is going to be as successful as Mahomes. There's no saying that. Tua might never be as good as Patrick Mahomes. But still, if Tua truly has a clean bill of health, and knowing how dominant he was during his time as starting quarterback at Alabama, you know that Tua has a ton of upside and is going to be, at the very least, a solid week-to-week NFL starting quarterback that gives you a chance to win week in, week out. And then will make a couple of Pro Bowls, will help your team make the playoffs, and ultimately help your team reach a Super Bowl one day with the right supporting cast surrounding them. So Tua is that dude. He is that dude that's good enough to be your starting QB at the next level, that can lead you, at the very least, to a Super Bowl one day. And it might not be instant success and be as quick as what Mahomes has achieved in a Chiefs uniform. But because you've seen Mahomes achieve what he has now, and he wasn't even the greatest win-loss record QB in college at Texas Tech, at an under 500 mark. I think he was only 13-17 during his time with the Red Raiders. So he was under 500. Tua, with the much better team, I know that, but has been extremely successful, winning so many darn football games, and coming in the second half and winning a national championship for Bama. He has done that, has it on his resume. So he's going to be a quarterback when he gets to the NFL that can help you be competitive, help you reach the playoffs, and allow your team ultimately to have a chance to reach a Super Bowl one day. And that's why it is definitely worth it for the Lions to replicate what the Chiefs did and then to subsequently draft Tua at number 3. But you don't trade Stafford. You keep him. You allow Stafford to be your starting passer still in 2020, and then you trade him in the following offseason, guys, and allow Tua at that point to take over as your starting quarterback. I think there's a lot of merit to it, and the 3 options that I thought were just hugely sexy options, and the best 3 for the Lions, they were, you take Tua at number 3, you hope for Chase Young to fall to number 3, or you trade down. You trade down and facilitate a deal with the team that wants to trade up to get Tua at number 3. Those are my 3 options. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking still, guys. The 3 best options right there for the Lions, but you don't trade Stafford. Even though you take Tua. You have Tua and Stafford on the same team. Tua as a number 2 QB learning under Stafford for just a season, and then you allow Tua to take over in year number 2 for himself in the NFL, and hopefully he then just jumps into the starting duties and is able to dominate almost instantaneously. And if that's the case, then the Lions would have hit a home run on drafting Tua Tagovailoa at number 3 in this year's NFL draft. And guys, once again, for that article that I did pen that I was mentioning with the Lions trade options at number 3, you can check that article out at SI Lions Maven. And remember to follow the Detroit Sports Podcast Network on Twitter at Detroit Podcast for all of our latest podcasts, for all of the latest episodes of Sundays with Dominic and Vito, that means, and for all of SI Lions Maven's articles. So whenever I pen a piece and it just came out, you'll see it tweeted out via at Detroit Podcast on Twitter with a retweet from yours truly, Vito Churko at Vito Jerome. And as I always say, guys, when you give me a follow, you allow me to sleep much more comfortably and easily at night. As usual, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you for an episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to be back for another fresh edition of the podcast, more than likely without my brother, mi hermano, Dominic Chirco, but with a stellar guest or two next Sunday. Guys, until then, have a great week, and I'll talk to you then. Adios.
Thank you.